Thanks for having me. Happy also as an Evanstonian, I'm glad to be a part of this conversation. And broadly, the defund movement, its roots are actually quite old, going back to movements around from Angela Davis and Ruth Wilson Gilmore in the 60s. And there's also ties to abolition of prisons and police dating back a long way. And there are kind of two related elements, one of which, of course, is, how do we deal with the white supremacist roots and racist roots of modern policing and historical policing. And the one around the phrase defunding, of course, goes to, how police function and budgets have just grown essentially since the 1960s, where police were, still, again, working on containing or controlling neighborhoods and populations to now providing services that range from mental health to social work to dealing with all these things, and budgets have just expanded. And it was really in this moment in the 60s where police started to become present in schools, where they had juvenile units and gang units and other sorts of units. And really the question around defunding is that these budgets have gotten larger and larger and larger over time. Even, by the way, as crime has gone down, budgets have gone up. And so we've never really reshifted fundings even as crime kind of went down. But there are these issues of the sorts of things that police are responding to that have grown increasingly large over the last 50 years, which includes lots of things that cost a lot of money, which the police were not originally doing and have since done. Crisis intervention, dealing with homelessness, sex work, substance abuse, safety in schools, safety at other sorts of non-emergency events. And sort of when we're at this moment of talking about defunding the police, a lot of it really starts with this question, which is a very sociological question of, what do we want the police to be in contemporary society? How do we deal with past sort of harms and wrongs? And what sorts of things might be better served outside of police functions? And then briefly, there are sorts of different police and safety initiatives around the country and the globe that have been trying some of these things for quite some time or even long time. So can we, for example, take out responses to homelessness or sex work outside of the police and get trained social workers or crisis interventionists in those spaces? And even within the space of schools or in the space of, say, gun violence, we're starting to see other ways in different places, more or less effective, that can remove some of the burden from budgets from police, but also making sure some of the first responders to those situations are not necessarily an armed police officer, but professionals that may have more specific training, say, around intimate partner violence or substance abuse as sort of one of the large areas that often get parts of police functions, right? So understanding what people are asking the police to do, what we're funding the police to do, and taking a moment to decide as a city or as a town which of those things we think might be better served elsewhere. And as you said, Mayor, this is coming, of course, amidst many other conversations around funding and use of funding. But historically, the real trend with police has been having increased responsibilities and increased budgets almost uniformly across this country since the mid 1960s. Part of it from state budgets, and of course, part of it being also supplanted by federal grants and other initiatives that police departments often seek to keep their budgets where they need to be.
Great, thank you. I think that's a great foundation. And I think two key concepts. One, defunding's been around for a long time, even though for many of us it's a new term that we're hearing. And two, crime has been going down, and yet police budgets have been going up. And that's something that I've noticed when I became the mayor, and I would be in these meetings with the city manager, and I was always scratching my head about that.